Well, gentlemen, so we're going to dedicate as little time to this as possible, but I do think it's important to respond. We have yet another video from MRAs calling out, quote, misogynist Mgtows. This time it's from Aaron Clary for a second time, who I really don't want to bring up in any more of my videos. I was kind of weirded out by that 3 a.m. Request for pics that he sent me over Twitter, but he did make a few points that I wanted to respond to. Now, before we move on to the more important task at hand, which is generating more Mgtow-related content, which I have coming up very shortly, I want to first say that first and foremost, it was inevitable to the development and progression of Mgtow that this split happened from the wider men's rights movement. And I think the sheer amount of time on the part of MRAs that has been dedicated to calling us misogynists who can't get laid illustrate this perfectly why. I think that in splitting from the men's rights portion of the manosphere, we are now free from the burden of having to prove our, quote, non-misogyny to anybody, including MRAs, who are, on average now, seemingly leveling this accusation of misogyny even more than feminists do, on average. Or at the very least at the same frequency. And I, of course, think that in not caring about accusations of misogyny, we are free from the limitations of having to parse our words and repress our content for fear of sounding misogynist, which I think explains why you see so much better content coming out of the Mgtow portion of the manosphere, which I want to get back to soon, but again, we're going to just address this briefly here. But with that said, I also want to recommend strategies for dealing with these MRA accusations of misogyny, the most potent of which involves responding as little as possible to it and only when necessary. And the reason I say this is because if you look at the videos surrounding these Mgtow misogyny type videos and compare them to the amount of views their normal videos get, the MRAs that upload these type of videos, you'll see really that the entire thing reeks of attention whoring and clickbait trolling. You notice that when MRAs are talking about the same rehashed, boring topics, the wage gap or feminism or what Anita Sarkeesian did last week, their views remain stagnant and tend to plateau much sooner than when they upload one of these Mgtow misogyny videos designed specifically to gin up controversy and attention. What I suggest is this, gentlemen. If you see these MRAs or tradcons or whoever uploading the same garden variety complaints of Mgtow tone policing and concern trolling that are, again, really no different than what we've been dealing with from women and feminists for years now, disregard that. Keep your focus on Mgtow-related content. But when, on the other hand, some solid arguments are made, points worth debunking, not this Aaron Clary nonsense, then it's a good idea to go ahead and single that person out and treat them with the same scrutiny I did to Stone a couple videos back, and I hope that many of you do the same. I certainly will. Now, in regards to the Clary video, there's only one real point that I believe is worth debunking, and this is the meme that's been going around that posits that many Mgtow are only Mgtow because they supposedly, according to them, can't get laid. Now, I have no idea how one would discern this over the internet, but supposedly, to them, this is the case. And my only response to this is, well, so what? So what if this is the case? Let's say some Mgtow could never get laid but saw his friends or his father or his friend's father screwed in divorce court or serially cheated on. Let's say that he witnessed female entitlement from a distance and saw others paying for it instead of him. This is somehow not a valid reason for going your own way? So what, should he waste his time on a relationship he may not even want, or worse yet, a marriage, just to prove to your high school clique of tradcon PUA types in the manosphere that he can get laid? Furthermore, are we under the impression that there are no MRAs that are, quote, misogynist or only in the men's rights movement because they can't get laid? How many beta providers are in the men's rights movement solely because they tried to bribe a woman with beta provision into liking him and ended up fooling themselves into thinking that she actually loved him when he knew deep down that she was only there because he was paying her bills, and then, surprise, surprise, she divorces him and takes him for his cash and shacks up with some alpha male brute because the money, of course, was the only thing she actually wanted in the first place. How many of these guys would even be calling themselves MRAs if it wasn't for the fact that they got dumped out of their marriage and ended up losing their cash to a woman that was never sexually attracted to him and essentially just pulled a long-term rejection of him? Do you think that if their wives would have stayed with them, that they would give a damn about the men's rights movement or men in general? Now, some of these MRAs making these accusations have racked up multiple divorces. And I suppose on some level that may prove for the Aaron Clarys of the world and their gynocentric measuring sticks that some women at one time would tolerate these MRAs, and that somehow makes them different from Mgtows that supposedly can't get laid. But from where I'm standing, all that really proves to me is that they fell for one scam after another and still have the nerve to try to ridicule others that looked at their mistakes and said, nope, fuck that. You see, MRAs of this ilk would rather Mgtow learn the hard way and stumble onto the manosphere after the kid that they had that they can't even see and didn't even really want, or after the divorce that they had that left them financially and emotionally destitute. They want Mgtow to be as impotent as they are. They want victims. Mgtow want empowered men who don't get married, who aren't subject to the whims of a marriage contract, and we want them to be welcomed into an environment where some juvenile, pussy-obsessed dick-measuring contest isn't the main focus of the manosphere or the Mgtow portion of the manosphere, and never will be. And that's all I got to say about that, gentlemen, but content coming soon. Thanks for listening.